Who am I? Do the dying need to know who I am? Su Jingxing put away his throwing daggers and extracted cards. He turned around and walked to the aisle. At the end of the corridor, a group of people were already rushing over. Su Jingxing circulated his true energy and got ready. Boom! Another explosion rang out as a fist imprint flew through the air. Energies surged wildly and the punch injured or killed the people who had rushed out. Then, 3 treasure weapons danced at lightning speed, piercing through the heads or necks of those who hadn't died. Su Jingxing retracted his throwing daggers and continued to extract cards. He retreated to the landing of the stairs leading down to the 3rd level and waited for the people on the 3rd floor to charge forward. Boom! Another punch was thrown out. This terrifying fist imprint carried 1,000,000 caddies of strength, instantly killing or wounding the entire group. Swish! 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 The throwing daggers followed, killing all those who did not die. Retract throwing daggers, extract cards. After waiting in the same spot for a while, he killed another wave of sacrificial soldiers. Boom! 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 Su Jingxing moved around the stairway just like that, killing the sacrificial soldiers and guards coming from the 1st and 3rd levels. The people on the 2nd level were so traumatized that they hid in corners and did not dare to show their faces. Su Jingxing was not in a hurry to take care of them either. He waited until people stopped coming from the 1st and 3rd levels. Then, he listened to the surroundings using advanced hearing and confirmed that there were no longer any more people. At this point, he then moved around the 2nd level and killed the people in hiding. Boom! 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 Swish! 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 Fist imprints broke through the doors and the throwing daggers brought instant death. He killed and extracted cards along the way. 10 minutes later, a hush fell over all 3 levels and the entire base was. Everyone in the base has been wiped out. No. There is one more person. Standing in the western corner on the 2nd level, Su Jingxing heard that there was one more living person in a room below on the 3rd level. The other party's breathing and heartbeat far exceeded that of an ordinary person. This person was either in the 4th grade or 5th grade. Trying to ambush me? Su Jingxing chuckled and strolled towards the landing of the stairs leading from the 2nd level to the 3rd level. He slowly walked down the stairs to the 3rd level and approached the treasury vault. That's right. This Shi family base was equipped with a treasury vault. Some of the things that Su Jingxing wanted the most were in there. The treasury vault was located in the southwest corner of the 3rd level. The ambusher Su Jingxing had heard was in the room next to it. This expert in the middle ranks was most likely the one guarding the treasury vault. Su Jingxing walked closer step by step as if he hadn't discovered the person. When he reached the entrance of the treasury vault and was about to open the door. Boom! A loud explosion resounded through the air. Su Jingxing suddenly turned around and punched out. A terrifying fist imprint was put through the wall and hit an old man who was hiding behind the door, preparing to ambush him. The immense force sent the old man flying backward. With a loud bang, he smashed into the wall, creating a huge pit. The old man spat out a mouthful of blood and slid down. His eyes were filled with shock. Shi. Su Jingxing stepped in through the hole and stared at the old man sitting on the ground. He asked softly, "Where is the key to the treasury vault? I can give you a quick death." Hee. Blood gushed out from the corner of Shi Zhilao's mouth as he smiled bitterly. "If you want to open the treasury vault, you can do it in your next life." "What's the point?" Su Jingxing shook his head. "I just don't want to waste time and save my efforts." Save efforts. Shi Zhilao laughed strangely. Save efforts, sure. Come closer, I'll tell you where the key is. Su Jingxing did not move. Instead, he looked Shi Zhilao up and down and chuckled. "Why? You're thinking of dragging me along with you before you die? Or do you want to seriously injure me? Self-destruction. Su Jingxing hadn't forgotten that each of the Shi family's sacrificial soldiers possessed a secret ability that allowed them to self-destruct and severely injure their opponents while facing interrogation. Sacrificial soldiers would self-destruct, and as members of the Shi family, they would naturally do so as well. Su Jingxing could tell what Shi Zhilua was up to. Thus, as soon as these words were spoken, Shi Zhilua's pupils suddenly constricted, and he said furiously, "Who exactly are you? Why do you know so many secrets of the Shi family? You want to know?" Su Jingxing countered with a smile. "Speak. Tell me who you are and why you know so many secrets, and I'll tell you where the key to the treasury vault is." Shi Zhilua roared hysterically. "All right, it's a deal." Su Jingxing clapped his hands. "Tell me where the key is first and I'll tell you who I am." Shi Zhilua was silent. After a moment, he laughed hysterically. "Ha ha ha, no matter who you are, if you want to open the treasury vault, you can do it in your next life, your next life, your next life. Ha ha ha." Bang! Accompanied by laughter, a deafening sound was heard. Shi Zhilua's entire body exploded into a bloody mist, and countless bits of flesh splattered all over the room and the walls. Su Jingxing had already quickly retreated out of the room in Shi Zhilua's laughter. He moved to the side, avoiding splattering of blood mist and minced flesh. A moment later, he returned and extracted a card. Shi Zhilua would rather self-destruct than tell him where the key was. Obviously, he didn't want to let Su Jingxing have it easy. Su Jingxing was disappointed but not depressed. The entrance of the treasury vault required 3-level identification of a password, fingerprint, and pupil. Su Jingxing was too lazy to mess with Shi Jinyan's fingers and eyeballs. He directly circulated 200 years of true energy cultivation and punched the door at close range. Boom! 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 After 3 loud bangs, a huge hole was forced through the thick and heavy superalloy door. Su Jingxing walked in slowly and came to the first treasure chamber. Through the hole in the door, a secret chamber filled with various hot weapons came into sight. Su Jingxing exerted some force and opened the door. He walked in, scanned the room, and took away a pile of high-performance bombs. He also picked out some high-speed machine guns, mortars, rocket launchers, and other weapons, just for fun. In terms of might, usage, and convenience, they could not compare to throwing daggers. The sound produced when these weapons were activated was not conducive for ambushes. Su Jingxing took some and put them in his palm space, all just to satisfy his desire for some fun. After leaving the first chamber, he walked to the second door and took a look. It was filled with cold weapons. Su Jingxing opened the door and walked in. He discovered that most of them were semi-treasure weapons. There were many treasure weapons, only a dozen or so. There were knives, swords, rods, axes, spears, whips. Su Jingxing didn't stand on ceremony and put them all into his palm space. Then, he turned around and left, preparing to go to the third chamber. But out of the corner of his eye, he suddenly noticed a wooden round box on an alloy table in the deepest part of the chamber. Curious, he walked over, wanting to see what was in the box. The round box was about 80 centimeters in diameter and its surface was engraved with complicated patterns. Su Jingxing stared at it for a moment before gently opening it. An ice crystal ring appeared, emitting a dazzling glow in the dark room. "What is this?" Su Jingxing raised his eyebrows. It was not that he did not recognize the ring, but it was obvious that it was no ordinary item. What puzzled Su Jingxing was the origin or ability of this ring. Upon closer inspection, Su Jingxing realized that the ring was neither made of metal nor jade. It was hard to tell what material it was made of. On the contrary, the ring gave Su Jingxing a very special feeling. There was a sense of warmth and a little fear. It was very conflicting. But no matter what, this was a treasure. Since it was a treasure, Su Jingxing naturally took it with the box and put it into his palm space. As for what the ring was, he would slowly study it when he returned. After putting away the box, Su Jingxing was not in a hurry to leave. He remained in the secret chamber and carefully checked every corner, even below the shelves and the wall. After making sure that he did not miss anything, he walked out of the secret chamber and headed for the third one. Just like the previous two chambers, Su Jingxing did not hesitate and prepared to open the door of the treasure room by force. However, the moment he exerted his strength, his heart skipped a beat and he stopped what he was doing. Danger! There is danger in this third chamber. Su Jingxing was surprised and bewildered. Danger in a treasure chamber? What kind of treasure could threaten him? Some kind of poisonous gas? Fatal pathogens? Biochemical bombs? Su Jingxing couldn't figure it out. He took 2 steps back and carefully examined the alloy door of this third chamber. And he noticed something strange. The alloy door of the third chamber was exceptionally thick and the hole on the door was very small. The hole was not covered using glass either, instead, it was hollowed out, filled with small holes. The air outside could mix with the air inside. This meant that whatever was inside wasn't poisonous gas or pathogens. At least it wasn't gas or something small. It was a big fellow. Big fellow. Could it be a savage beast? Su Jingxing pondered. Powerful savage beasts could indeed threaten him. Even martial artists in the top ranks had savage beasts that they were no match for, let alone for martial artists in the middle ranks. If the Shi family had really raised a savage beast and placed it in the treasure chamber. Hold on. That's not right. A savage beast is a beast. It's impossible for it to not have a heartbeat and no breathing. Su Jingxing's secret ability, advanced hearing, had been activated the whole time, and he had been listening to everything around him. If there was a savage beast in the third chamber, it was impossible not to hear its heartbeat and breathing. Unless it's dead. Su Jingxing's expression changed. He took 2 steps back and landed a punch on the alloy door. The terrifying force forcefully broke open the door. The interior of the empty room immediately came into sight. At the very least, standing at the entrance and looking in, he did not see anything. The dark environment did not affect Su Jingxing. There's nothing inside. Su Jingxing raised his eyebrows. Just then. Who? A gust of bloody wind coupled with a ferocious aura suddenly swept out from the third chamber. The speed was extraordinary. The moment it pounced out of the darkness, there wasn't even a shadow. Or rather, it was a shadow itself. Boom! There was an explosion in the air and energies danced wildly. Su Jingxing, who had been prepared for this, threw a punch. 1,000,000 caddies of force struck the black shadow that was pouncing towards him. With a muffled sound, the black shadow was directly thrown back and shattered into several pieces as it collapsed to the ground. Parasitic worm zombie discovered. Would you like to extract it? Yes. Su Jingxing responded inwardly. Standing outside the door, he was both shocked and relieved. Corpse puppet. The treasure in the third chamber was actually a corpse puppet. The Shi family were truly lunatics. They even dared to tame corpse puppets. Although corpse puppets were easy to create, such a mutated species controlled by the extraterrestrial devil insect was neither a savage beast nor a spiritual beast. They would not be tamed at all. The only way was to forcibly detain and control them. And once there was a slip-up, the opponent would not be the only one to die. The person himself would also die a miserable death. The Shi family were complete lunatics. Not only did they forcefully imprison the corpse puppet, they also locked it in the base and placed it in the treasury vault. What? Were they treating the corpse puppet as the security guard of the treasury vault? If an enemy were to invade, they would release the corpse puppet to attack their target? Su Jingxing found this hard to swallow. Since the Shi family dared to place the corpse puppet in the treasury vault, it could only be said that they were confident enough. No wonder he did not hear any breathing or heartbeat. It turned out that the third chamber contained a corpse puppet. Who? Another gust of bloody wind came from the treasure chamber and charged at Su Jingxing with lightning speed. Boom! Su Jingxing punched out again, unleashing more than 100 years of true energy cultivation and releasing 1,000,000 caddies of strength to strike the black shadow. With a dull thud, the shadow was shattered and fell to the ground, splitting into several pieces. Su Jingxing extracted a card. Another corpse puppet. In the third chamber, too. Who? Who? A foul wind ravaged the air. 2 more black shadows leaped out of the open chamber and pounced on Su Jingxing in a flash. The pungent smell of blood and a manic aura enveloped Su Jingxing. Boom! Boom! 2 dull explosions sounded almost at the same time. Just like before, the 2 black shadows were smashed into pieces by the force of 1,000,000 caddies. Su Jingxing extracted the cards and felt inexplicably happy. The Shi family's madness had benefited him today. Corpse puppets were indeed a great threat. Once they escaped, the damage they would cause to ordinary people and martial artists in the lower ranks was unimaginable. However, since the zombie died in Su Jingxing's hands, the cards extracted from them would most likely be martial arts practice cards. The martial arts practice card was good stuff. Su Jingxing was in need of it. In the third chamber, the more corpse puppet imprisoned, the greater Su Jingxing's chances of obtaining martial arts practice cards. This was delivering benefits and warmth to him. Su Jingxing really wanted to kill dozens and even tens of corpse puppets. Unfortunately, after waiting outside the door for a while, no more corpse puppets rushed out. Su Jingxing walked in slowly. With his secret ability, night vision, he took in everything in the chamber in one glance. There were indeed only 4 corpse puppets. Before this, these 4 corpse puppets probably had chains, arm clamps, and other tools tied to them. This was because 4 alloy shackles were installed on the wall on the left side of the secret chamber. They could separately immobilize the corpse puppets' heads and limbs. The shackles were now released. It must have been Shi Jiluo's doing. Before Su Jingxing came down to the 3rd level, he had already unlocked the shackles on the corpse puppets. If Su Jingxing hadn't been alert and had entered the chamber from the start, he would have suffered some extent of injury from the corpse puppet's sneak attacks. How ruthless! The people of the Shi family were indeed crazy. Su Jingxing scanned the entire secret chamber and carefully checked every corner. After making sure that he did not miss anything and that there was nothing else, he turned around and left. As he moved, he took out the 4 cards he had extracted, held them in his hand, and read the information. Martial Arts Practice Card. Martial Arts Practice Card. Martial Arts Practice Card. Martial Arts Practice Card. Pretty good. All 4 cards were martial arts practice cards. In addition, every card contained a very long practice time, exceeding 10 years. Clearly, the Shi family had imprisoned and controlled these 4 corpse puppets for quite some time. Shi Jiluo wanted to pull Su Jingxing along with him before he died. It could only be said that he had miscalculated. For martial arts practice cards could allow Su Jingxing to grasp many martial arts. Therefore, the 3rd chamber gave a good harvest. The next room was the 4th secret chamber. Just in case, Su Jingxing first listened for any stirs in the chamber, then kept a distance and broke the door savagely. He waited for a moment, but nothing happened. Then, he slowly walked in. He lifted his head and scanned his surroundings. What he saw were made-to-measure bookshelves. Yet there were only a few books on the shelves. Su Jing walked over, picked up some of the few ones, and opened them. Martial arts, they are all martial arts. The 4th chamber contained martial arts. Although there weren't many of them, only about 20, these martial arts were not bad. Among them were the Shi family's ultimate arts, the cold smoke mantra, split eagle claw, and the 9-in soul-shattering sword. The secret manuals for these 3 martial arts were complete editions. Su Jingxing took a few casual glances and put them all into his palm space with satisfaction. Even though he didn't practice any martial arts with yin and cold attributes, that wouldn't stop him from using them for reference. So far, Su Jingxing had collected a number of martial arts. Previously, he was just subconsciously storing them. Now that he thought about it carefully, he might be able to study and epitomize them to create his own martial art. The chances of success weren't high, but what if? What if it worked? Su Jingxing did not forget that there was a function card like the deduction card. As long as he created a complete set of martial arts theories, there was a high chance of success if he were to deduce it using the deduction card. Therefore, Su Jingxing would take all kinds of martial arts as long as they were complete. Whether he needed it or not was another matter. In any case, he would simply take them first. The martial arts that the Shi family had placed in the secret chamber were all stored in his palm space. At the end, Su Jingxing found a precious secret manual for protection in a secret compartment. Flipping it open. Blood Drop Heretic Art. Heretic Art. Su Jingxing narrowed his eyes and picked up this secret manual with a dark red cover. Holding his breath, he flipped it open. Moments later, his breathing quickened. That's right, this blood drop heretic art was a heretic art, the martial art that Shirzini had cultivated. Using blood as a catalyst, if successfully refined, one could condense the martial art true intent of the blood WIRM and advance to the 3rd grade. It was precisely because Shirzini cultivated this that he killed so many people and possessed terrifying strength. But this blood drop heretic art was incomplete. It was an incomplete martial art. Even if it was indeed exquisite and contained a frightening might, even if once it was successfully cultivated, one's body would possess terrifying vitality and its self-healing ability would also be extremely insane, incomplete was incomplete. The blood drop heretic art itself was flawed. This was because it relied on absorbing blood energy to cultivate. There was a 70% chance that it would cause one's temperament to change drastically, turning bloodthirsty and violent. One could also suffer from chi deviation, lose his rationality, and become a complete devil. A killing machine. In the end, Shirzini still cultivated it. The Shi family had expended a lot of resources and killed thousands of people for him. Lunatics. Su Jingxing could only say that everyone in the Shi family was crazy. If the blood drop heretic art was complete, then it would be an ultimate martial art on the same level as the 9 steps trampling heaven. Even though it was incomplete, Su Jingxing accepted it. For no other reason but because some of the theories within, if put to good use, could unleash great strength. As such, he left, loaded with gains from the 4th chamber. Leaving this secret chamber, Su Jingxing went to the last chamber. As before, he listened for a moment to make sure that there was no movement before opening the door with brute force from a distance. He waited a moment before entering. He quickly scanned the entire space and found that there was only an alloy platform in the middle of the empty secret chamber. Su Jing walked to the side of the platform. He saw that it was caved in, and there was a layer of transparent glass at the top. Under the glass, palm-sized pieces of white jade stones were piled up at the bottom of the pit. The pile was about half a meter tall. His initial estimate was about 100 pieces. The question was, what kind of treasures were these jade stones? Su Jingxing had never seen or heard of such a thing. That's not right. I think I've heard of it before. Su Jingxing muttered, who did I hear it from? Right, the ethereal sword immortal. Back when the ethereal sword immortal was giving Su Jingxing guidance, she had mentioned a magical treasure. It was one of the heavenly treasures, the energy-gathering stone. As its name implied, it was a stone capable of gathering worldly energy. As long as they were placed together according to a certain pattern, they would be able to gather worldly energy for a person's cultivation. To put it bluntly, it was a setting up an array formation. Not an energy-gathering array formation. The energy-gathering array formation was extremely complicated, and it was almost impossible to set up unless it was done by an ancient faction with 1,000 years of legacy. Needless to say, this array formation had already been lost. Comparatively speaking, gathering worldly energy through energy-gathering stones was much simpler. Once a basic array formation was set up, one would be able to constantly gather worldly energy. There was no need to go to dangerous places in the wild that were difficult to access like the Green Cloud mountain range to break through. The Shi family had collected many energy-gathering stones. Since there were already so many in this base, there must be many energy-gathering training rooms in their residence. Energy-gathering training rooms were facilities that only large factions had. This was also one of the benefits of having an organization and a powerful backer. In the training rooms, one could make a breakthrough. Su Jingxing naturally put the 100 or so energy-gathering stones into his palm space. Even though he knew nothing about array formations, they were easy to learn, and energy-gathering stones were rare. Su Jingxing happily accepted all the good stuff that the Shi family had left behind. After leaving the treasury vault, he generously took out 2 buckets of corpse-dissolving liquid and turned all the corpses into a pool of liquid. He stored the broken pieces of the corpse puppets in boxes and carried them in his hands for the time being. After leaving, he would send them to the martial suppression office to be handled by them. When dealing with Shi Jinyan's corpse, he left his head behind. Because it was of use to him. This secret base was used as a route of retreat for the Shi family. There was naturally no lack of food and necessary supplies. After Su Jingxing found the warehouse, he also took a batch of resources with him, saving him the trouble and expenses of buying them. After everything was settled, Su Jingxing went back the way he came and came to the room with the wall partition. He triggered the mechanism from the inside and revealed the entrance. The fellow whom he had knocked out was still unconscious. Su Jingxing didn't hold back either. He directly killed him and extracted a card. Then, he used the remaining corpse-dissolving liquid to turn the corpse into liquid. He closed the opening and sealed off the entrance of the base. If nothing cropped up, no one would discover this underground base for a long time. This was exactly what Su Jingxing wanted. The Shi family was finally taken care of. There was no need for Su Jingxing to care about the elderly, women, and children who remained in the Shi family estate. The collateral branches in the other cities and functional towns were also handled by the Li, Zhou, and other families. Su Jingxing, who had returned with a full load, first rushed to the martial suppression offices in the dark night and placed the boxes containing the 4 broken corpse puppets at the entrance. Then, he flew straight to the Shi family's residence and found Li Lilo, Yan Yuanfeng, and the others who were guarding outside. Guest Elder Lin hasn't arrived yet. On a street outside the Shi family estate, Li Lilo, Zhou Wensen, Yan Yuanfeng, and a few others stood in a corner, looking at the sky or at the corner of the street. Yan Yuanfeng looked around and frowned. It's almost time. Why isn't he here yet? What's the hurry? Li Lilo replied coolly. Even if guest Elder Lin doesn't come, we can still finish off Shi Jinyan. That's not what I meant. Yan Yuanfeng waved his hand. I was thinking. Swoosh. A gust of wind suddenly sounded, interrupting Yan Yuanfeng's explanation. Who is it? Yan Yuanfeng stepped back, and true energy circled around his palm. Who? Dong. A black shadow fell from the sky and landed on the ground 3 meters away from him. It rolled twice and stopped moving. What is this? Yan Yuanfeng was bewildered. Shi Jinyan's head. Su Jingxing's voice sounded in the air. What? Yan Yuanfeng was shocked and his mouth subconsciously dropped wide open. Swoosh! A figure swiftly rushed out from behind him. It was Zhao Zhongyi. In a flash, Zhao Zhongyi arrived beside the shadow. He looked down and examined it before exclaiming, "It really is Shi Jinyan." Swish! Swish. Li Lilo, Zhou Wensen and the rest used their movement techniques and drifted over. Heh, it really is Shi Jinyan. Zhou Wensen narrowed his eyes. Where did you kill him? Guessed Elder Lin. Li Lilo had thought further and raised his head to look at the sky. Yes, yes. Wasn't Shi Jinyan still at the Shi residence? How? Yan Yuanfeng came back to his senses and was equally curious. Need you ask? Clearly, Shi Jinyan had long escaped through the underground tunnel. Zhao Zhongyi analyzed in a low voice. Only, he was unlucky. Before he left the city, he was caught by guest Elder Lin. Pretty much that. Su Jingxing stood at the top of the building and recounted coolly. Shi Jinyan and the last of the Shi family elites tried to leave through the underground tunnel, but I found them and sent them to meet their ancestors. I've already disposed of the corpses, leaving Shi Jinyan's head as a proof. Rest assured, guest Lin. We will gather your share immediately. I guarantee that within 3 days, it will be transferred into your account, Li Lilo replied tactfully. That's good. Su Jingxing didn't stay for long. He said, in that case, I'll take my leave first. With that, his figure flashed as he soared into the sky and disappeared into the horizon. Hey, wait! Yan Yuanfeng shouted and wanted to say something, but it was too late. He could only watch as Su Jingxing flew into the night. Why, Deputy Sect Master Yan wants to invite guest Elder Lin to join your sect. Li Lilo chuckled lightly. You make it sound like you don't want to. Yan Yuanfeng looked at him disdainfully. Li Lilo said, you are right. I also wish to extend an offer to him. Unfortunately, as you can see, guest Elder Lin has no intention of joining any faction. I'm afraid that even if I do propose it, it would be in vain. Heh, if you don't, the more he won't have any plans to join you. Yan Yuanfeng sneered. That's enough, Zhou Wensen interrupted. Guest Elder Lin has already dealt with Shi Jinyan. What do we do next? Do we continue the encirclement? And who will we exterminate? The old, weak, women, and children in the Shi residence. Yan Yuanfeng said in contempt. Commander Li is watching right over there. You dare to rush in and start a massacre. Even if we don't kill them, we still have to deal with them, Zhao Zhongyi said in a low voice. The Martial Suppression Office is only responsible for maintaining stability and the overall situation. The Shi family's businesses still needs to be handled by someone. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go. Yan Yuanfeng lifted Shi Jinyan's head and said seriously, since Shi Jinyan is dead, the remaining members of the Shi family are nothing to worry about. If we can take over the businesses without using weapons or seeing corpses, I think it would be great. That makes sense. Whoosh! In the night sky, Su Jingxing's figure flickered as he stepped on the air like he was walking on flat ground. Executing the 8 steps rising dragon and circulating his true energy, he rushed towards the Tai Ming mountain 10 miles outside the city. The entrance to the Jin Mushin's treasure trove was located underground in the northwestern corner of the Tai Ming mountain reservoir. This news had reached him in perfect time. After settling Shi Jinyan and the Shi family's matters, Su Jingxing continued without stop and rushed over. The searching team dispatched by the Shi family was still waiting by the reservoir on Shi Jinyan's orders. If Su Jingxing didn't hurry and get rid of them, the information of the entrance to Jin Mushin's treasure trove might leak out. At that time, a crowd would break into the underground cave to dig up treasures and seize them. That was not what Su Jingxing wanted to see. As long as he could get rid of the Shi family's searching team, he would be the only one to know about the entrance to Jin Mushin's treasure trove. Su Jingxing would then have plenty of time to slowly explore it. For that, Su Jingxing didn't calculate how much true energy he had expended. He flew as fast as he could to Tai Ming Mountain, arriving above the reservoir. Under the night sky, a group of people stood at the northwest corner of the reservoir. Some of them had electric lamps in their hands, while others carried firearms. They were vigilant of their surroundings in the night wind and waited quietly. Swoosh! Su Jingxing did not hide and directly descended from the sky, landing on the shore 10 meters away from them. Who is it? The Shi family searching team, who were waiting, sensed the stir. The leader of the team swung around and glared at Su Jingxing. He shouted, "Raise your hands." Swoosh! 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 The guns and weapons that the others were holding were also pointed at Su Jingxing. All of you are here. Su Jingxing listened to his surroundings to see if he had missed anyone. What does this have to do with you? The leader shouted in a low voice, wariness emerging in his eyes. The fact that Su Jingxing was able to descend from the sky meant that he was at least in the 6th grade. He had cultivated an advanced lightness skill and could fly in the air using his true energy. 6th grade. Although the leader was in the same realm, he was only in the 6th grade. That might not necessarily be the case for Su Jingxing. In the middle of the night, an expert in the middle ranks descended from the sky and inquired about their situation. Even a fool would know that they had been exposed. At this thought, the leader gritted his teeth and said, "We're from the Shi family, you." "I know." Su Jingxing interrupted, "I know you're from the Shi family. I happen to come from the Shi residence. Your patriarch, Shi Jinyan, is already dead." "What? Impossible." Everyone cried out in shock and disbelief. "You're lying." The leader gritted his teeth and said, "Our patriarch won't die so easily. Even if you want to lie, you'll have to find something convincing enough." "Heh, you think Shi Jinyan won't die so easily because you know that he had gotten into hiding in a secret base?" Su Jingxing chuckled. The leader's expression turned grim and fearful. "He knows." Su Jingxing actually knew about it. How was this possible? How was this possible? I'll ask again. Swoosh! Bang bang bang! The sound of crossbow bolts shooting intensely and pistols spitting fire suddenly rang out. Without waiting for Su Jingxing to finish, the man took the lead and launched a surprise attack. If it were anyone else, they might have been struck. After all, there were many martial artists who died due to sneak attacks. Su Jingxing was different. He was already prepared. He had spent time talking to the leader because he wanted to scan the surroundings to make sure that no one was missing. At the same time, he wanted to monitor the emotions of the man and his group. The result was satisfactory. No one was lying in ambush around them. This basically eliminated the possibility of the news being spread to another party. Right now, the only ones who knew about the entrance to Jean Mushin's treasure trove were these few people here. So. Swoosh! 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 Boom! Boom! Su Jingxing's figure flashed as he quickly threw a punch. He released his true energy externally. The silvery black fist imprint carried a terrifying strength. It burst out with 500,000 caddies of strength instead of 1,000,000, blasting apart the air. With just 2 punches, the leader and his men were all killed. Stepping forward a little, Su Jingxing extracted the cards. Su Jingxing started to search the corpses but did not find anything good. He looked around and saw 2 off-road vehicles parked outside the entrance of the reservoir. His figure flashed and he flew over at once. He searched the 2 cars and as expected, found many things. There were weapons, firearms, explosives, fishing nets, fishing spears, diving suits, and other tools. Corpse-dissolving liquid was naturally included. Corpse-dissolving liquid was almost a necessity when heading out for missions. This liquid was specially designed to dissolve corpses. It was the best tool to destroy corpses and rid all traces. Grabbing the corpse-dissolving liquid, he returned to the reservoir and took care of the corpses of the searching team. Su Jingxing put away the remaining corpse-dissolving liquid and released his true energy to envelope his entire body. With a splash, he jumped into the water. Holding his breath, he first activated night vision and searched the bottom of the northwestern corner. Sure enough, he saw an underground cave. This underground cave was also one of the sources of water in the reservoir. The entrance was a little more than a meter wide, just enough for one person to enter. Su Jingxing, who was not wearing a diving suit, easily got in. He moved along the wall of the cave for less than 20 meters before they suddenly saw an entrance on the wall. He turned around easily and continued along the pathway. After circling around for about 50 meters, a huge pond appeared above his head. A cave inside of the mountain. An entrance to a treasure trove with a hidden mutated beast. Su Jingxing saw this and did not hesitate. He crawled out of the tunnel and came to the pond in the cave. He floated up slightly, and went above the water surface. He looked around and realized that the pond was rather large. The four sides were basically tunnel walls, and there was slippery water vapor everywhere. Above the pond, some stalactites hung down. And in the northeastern corner was a slippery slope. Above the slippery slope was an open doorway. In Su Jingxing's night vision, there was a stone path in the cave. As for where it led to, it was unknown for the time being. But, he guessed that it was probably be the location of Jean Mushin's treasure. With this in mind, Su Jingxing jumped out of the water and flew towards the slippery slope. In a flash, he arrived at the open doorway. Standing here, Su Jingxing turned his head to look at the pond behind him. He surveyed it. Didn't they say that there was a mutated beast in the water? In the information that the Shi family's searching team relayed to Shi Jinyan, it was said that there was a mutated beast in the pond. Su Jingxing had already come ashore, but he still did not see any mutated beasts. He activated the advanced hearing and still didn't hear anything unusual. Or could it be that the mutated beast has happened to go somewhere else? Su Jingxing retracted his gaze and turned around. He mumbled as he prepared to walk into the door. But the moment he stepped into the cave, he felt an alarming sense of danger. Almost instantly, he hastily retreated backwards. The moment Su Jingxing moved backwards, a huge mouth suddenly appeared in the doorway where it was originally empty. A huge mouth that had just closed. Pooh! The giant mouth that bit into nothing, made strange noises, and lots of saliva flew everywhere. Su Jingxing retreated again and took a good look at the giant mouth. Crocodile. It was a gigantic translucent crocodile. Its tail stretched out more than 20 meters, and half of it was on the other side of the bend. The opened eyes were like gems, shining brightly. When opened, the mouth was about 2 meters tall as the doorway. What was rare was that there was no strange smell coming from the mouth, nor was there any stench on its body. At first glance, it looked like a cartoon version of a gigantic crocodile. It was lying behind the door and did not emit any aura. Its heartbeat, breathing, and aura were all concealed. Su Jingxing's advanced hearing didn't catch any of them at all. A giant crocodile that could conceal its aura, heartbeat, and even turn invisible. No wonder the Shi family's searching team had no choice but to escape immediately after reaching here. If not for the fact that the tunnel beneath the pond was too small to accommodate the gigantic crocodile, the searching team might not have been able to escape. With their earlier provocation, the giant crocodile even left the pond and waited at the doorway. It opened its mouth and turned invisible, waiting for its prey to walk in by himself. Although Su Jingxing's physical body had reached the limits of the human body, his protective true energy also carried an extremely strong defensive ability. If he had really walked into the crocodile's mouth and been bitten by it, even if he did not break it on the spot, his skin would have been torn apart and a few bones would have been broken. The bite force of a crocodile was already terrifying, not to mention this giant crocodile that had already become a mutated beast. Damn it, I almost fell for it. Su Jingxing broke out in a cold sweat, killing intent bursting forth from his eyes. He originally thought that with more than 300 years of cultivation, as long as there were no martial artists in the top ranks, he would not need to fear anyone. To think, he almost died in a crocodile's stomach while searching for treasures this time. Compared to human martial artists, mutated beasts were undoubtedly a much greater threat. A crocodile that could turn invisible, conceal its aura and heartbeat. Before this, he had never even heard of it, let alone seen one. Roar! As Su Jingxing remained vigilant, the giant crocodile that did not manage to catch its prey could not hold back anymore. With a roar, its translucent body rushed out of the doorway. Whoosh! A strong wind accompanied by a large amount of water spray spurted out from the mouth of the giant crocodile. An invisible force instantly spread above the pond. In an instant, Su Jingxing felt the shackles in the air. At the same time, a huge pressure enveloped his shoulders and head, forcing him to fall into the water. Boom! Without thinking, Su Jingxing, who had sensed that something was wrong, resisted the pressure. He mobilized 300 years of true energy cultivation, and exploded with terrifying force. He threw a punch at the giant crocodile that was pouncing at him. A silvery black fist imprint appeared out of thin air. It carried an incomparably powerful force as it passed through the air and accurately struck the giant crocodile. It was sent flying back on the spot and exploded in midair with a loud bang. Blood, bits of flesh, and internal organs splattered all over the ground, most of them falling into the water. Mutated beast corpse discovered. Would you like to extract it? Yes. Su Jingxing responded and let out a breath, floating in midair. It was within his expectations that the giant crocodile would explode on the spot from the punch containing his full strength. What surprised Su Jingxing was that the giant crocodile's flesh, which had been turned into minced bits, also turned transparent after death and sank into the water. This fellow, did it become a transparent species after turning into a mutated beast? Su Jingxing murmured. After thinking for a moment, he picked up a few pieces of the flesh and put them into his palm space. When he returned, he would try to cook them and have a taste. Mutated beast flesh was even more nutritious, and it was very helpful for the training and tempering of the body. For a person like Su Jingxing who had already cultivated true energy, the help it could provide was limited. Because of this, Su Jingxing only took a few pieces instead of everything. It was just for a taste. A few pieces was enough. After a short rest, he continued forward. However, this time, before Su Jingxing through the doorway, he would release his throwing daggers beforehand. He used them scout ahead to prevent himself from accidentally entering a dangerous spot again. Swish! 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 The three throwing daggers flew in front while Su Jingxing followed behind. He walked on a winding path for about 5 minutes. A huge underground cave came into view. The moment Su Jingxing walked into the cave, his eyes widened. As a cave inside a mountain. Logically speaking, the entire environment should be dark and dim. Even if there were glowing objects, they could only light up certain corners. It was just like the cave or the way family's ancestors hid the 9 steps trampling heaven's secret manual. When there was light, it was like stars decorating the night sky. However, this underground cave was as bright as daylight. Bright. The dazzling white light was too bright. The entire underground cave was as big as a football field. Although there were also glowing crystals on the surrounding walls and the dome above, the biggest source of light was a tree in the center of the field. It resembled a willow tree, but it was 3 times the size of a normal willow tree. The branches and leaves of the tree were not very lush. Su Jingxing wasn't sure if the leaves were green or not. This was because the tree was glowing. The white light it emitted was as bright as an incandescent lamp. White light reached every corner of the underground cave, illuminating the empty ground, walls, and dome. If Su Jingxing hadn't confirmed that this tree was a real tree, he would have thought that he had come to the wrong place. This was not a treasure trove that had been buried for 200 years, but a high-tech underground base. It was just like how the secret base that Shi Jinyan used as his route of retreat had incandescent lights everywhere. The entire underground space was illuminated as if it was daytime. Why had Jin Mushin placed a glowing tree in the place where his treasures were hidden? Is this tree a treasure? That's not right either. In the northwestern corner of the underground cave, there were more than 10 wooden chests scattered on the ground. Those wooden boxes were probably used to store treasures. Hey, wait a minute. All of a sudden, Su Jingxing thought of something and looked around. As he scanned his surroundings, he muttered inwardly. As a corrupt official from 200 years ago, he must have plundered a massive amount of gold, silver, and jewels. It wouldn't be too much to say that they could fill 100 chests, no. 200 years ago, there were no hot weapons. It was not too much to hide 100 of treasure and semi-treasure weapons, right? Martial arts manuals, pill formulas, and other good stuff. It wasn't exaggerated for all of them to add up to dozens of chests, yes. Especially when a giant crocodile that could conceal its breathing and heartbeat was guiding the entrance. The treasures hidden here should be enough to make people envious, right? However, Su Jingxing scanned the entire underground cave 3 times but did not see any other chests. There were only 10 or so chests scattered along an underground river in the northwestern corner. Some of the chests had even broke open and the items inside had fallen into the water. From this, it could be determined that Su Jingxing had come to the right place. The treasure weapons and jewelry in the photos and videos that the Shi family had previously shared to divert the public's attention most likely came from those broken chests. But the question was, Jin Mushin only left behind these few chests. There are only a dozen chests in total, and they were called hidden treasures. Su Jingxing refused to believe it. He used his lightness skill and flew over in a flash. He opened the remaining chests and realized that half of them contained paintings, calligraphy and chinaware, while the other half contained gold, silver, and jewels. The only special chest was one with a pile of banknotes and a dozen ledgers. The banknotes were issued by a big bank in the U-Nation 200 years ago. This big bank was still a bank now, and it was a multinational one, powerful with solid financial strength. The banknotes amounted to a total of 8 million taels. Su Jingxing wondered if he could still exchange them for cash. As for the ledgers, Su Jingxing quickly flipped through them and tossed them back. There was nothing else. The people and factions recorded in the ledgers had long since died, the money they owed and the money they spent, disappeared. Including the paintings, calligraphy and chinaware, Su Jingxing had no use for them. He was not in need of money now, so there was no need for him to sell them. No matter how he thought about it, there was nothing that really tempted him. Is this tree really a treasure? Su Jingxing put away the banknotes and came to the glowing willow tree. Of course, before approaching, he first released his throwing daggers to circle around the willow tree. He even put them in between branches, going through every gap. After making sure that there were no invisible mutated beasts like the giant crocodile, he walked closer. Upon closer inspection, he could tell that there was something different about this willow tree. On the tree branches and trunk, there were faint vein-like patterns that spread on the bark. It was because the tree bark was also shining. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't be able to notice these patterns. From this, one could tell that this was not a willow tree. Su Jingxing didn't know what it was exactly. This tree did not have any fruits, nor did it have any unique fragrance. It only emitted light. The white light released similarly did not carry any lethality or influence. It was like a large light bulb that stood in the middle of the cave, illuminating the entire space. Jin Mushin put a glowing tree here just for illumination. Su Jingxing, who was circling around the tree, was puzzled. Treasures, glowing trees were indeed considered treasures 200 years ago. No, this isn't right. Suddenly, Su Jingxing thought of the Shi family. The Shi family was the first to find clues about this place. The so-called Jin Mushin's treasure trove was also named by the Shi family. Jin Mushin had never said that the things he had left countless treasures here. It all came from the Sure family's attempt to change the public's topic of discussion. In reality, this place might just be a place that Jean Mushin specially found to hide this glowing tree. 200 years ago, when this willow tree was brought in from outside, it was only a sapling. It had grown so big and tall because 200 years had passed. Without sunlight, the tree had grown for 200 years. Furthermore, the more it grew, the brighter the light it emitted. From this perspective, this tree was indeed a treasure. The Sure family was the one who came up with the idea of a hidden treasure trove. But this tree was indeed a treasure too. Only, its function remained unknown. After a round of analysis, Su Jingxing believed that this tree was the treasure. No fruit, no scent. The key was likely to be in the bark, the leaves, the branches, or the roots. With these thoughts in mind, Su Jingxing snapped a branch and put it into his palm space, bringing it back for experimentation. Of course, the best solution was to figure out the identity of the tree. What kind of special plant is it? Also, he had to figure out what the strange ring he found in the Sure family's treasury vault was. These information could not be found online. For heavenly treasures, special species, and unique existences, there was only one place in Qinghe City that had information and records on them. Xiantian University Library. Xiantian University, which had a history of over 1,000 years, had a lot of ancient books and information in its library. All answers on things that people outside don't know about, mysterious objects and happenings, could be found in the library. Of course. Those precious materials were guarded by experts. They were kept on the top level of the library. Su Jingxing had read online that very few people could go up to the top level of Xiantian University's library. In the past, Su Jingxing was no exception. But now. Cough cough. Su Jingxing clenched his fists, his eyes shining. With his current strength, he would be able to go to any place in Qinghe City. The top level of Xiantian University Library was naturally no exception. Su Jingxing walked around the underground cave twice. After making sure that there was nothing else hidden, he returned the same way he came. He did not take the chests with him. They remained where they were. It was still the same explanation. Su Jingxing was not in need of money now. He had to find a place to hide these gold, silver, jewelry, paintings, and chinaware. Even if he kept them in his palm space, they would still take up space. Su Jingxing would return to this underground cave before he figured out what the glowing willow tree was. Therefore, it was better to leave the chests where they were. Only by entering empty-handed and leaving empty-handed would it be easier to get things done. Returning to the reservoir bank, Su Jingxing cleaned up everything left behind by the Sure family's searching team. Even the two off-road vehicles were lifted up and moved in the air to the main road far away for the public security team to handle. Su Jingxing returned to his small courtyard at the foot of the mountain. Immediately, he took out the cards he had extracted and read them one by one. The 4 martial arts practice cards were already checked. They were placed aside. Among the remaining cards, there were as many as 8 bloodline cards. There were 5 true energy cards as well, their durations ranging from 3 to 12 years. The invisibility card from the giant crocodile was a pleasant surprise. Compared to the previous invisibility card, this invisibility card had a longer duration, a good 30 minutes. And its function was also more outstanding. Not only would it turn one's body and clothes invisible, it would also conceal one's heartbeat, breathing, aura, and more. Just like the giant crocodile, with Su Jingxing's perception and secret ability, advanced hearing, he didn't sense anything at all. This new invisibility card had the same ability. Su Jingxing was very satisfied after reading the information. Even though he had already cultivated the ghost python breath-holding technique, he had not reached the peak of perfection or godlike mastery. Before that was achieved, coupled with the invisibility card, he could use this skill as a trump card. The remaining cards were all internal force cards, which added up to more than 230 years of cultivation. Su Jingxing decisively unlocked all of them and converted them in true energy using the 9 steps trampling heaven, adding more than 2 years to his cultivation. He also unlocked all 5 true energy cards and absorbed the attributeless true energy, converted it into heaven trampling true energy and added 40 years to his cultivation. Altogether, his accumulated true energy cultivation reached as high as 346 years. After some thought, Su Jingxing took out the true energy card with 5 years of cultivation that he had left as backup previously. He unlocked and absorbed it before converting it into heaven trampling true energy, raising his true energy cultivation to 351 years. Su Jingxing wasn't in a hurry to condense the newly added true energy into a mist. He took out the 8 bloodline cards and unlocked them one by one. He collected 8 blood pearls and fed them to Thunderbolt. Before he could finish feeding all the pearls, Thunderbolt suddenly emitted a bright light. The little wooden sword that was covered in green light automatically became bigger. When it stopped growing, its blade was 4 feet long, and it was engraved with lightning-like patterns. Swoosh! Using his thought, Su Jingxing controlled Thunderbolt to fly around him. With another thought, the enlarged sword shrunk to the length of a finger. Swoosh! Swoosh! Bigger, smaller, bigger, smaller. Su Jingxing had experienced the Thunderbolt's function of growing and shrinking before coming into contact with its true capabilities. The overall feeling was not bad. Of course, this kind of control was completely supported by Su Jingxing's mental power. It was very taxing. If I had cultivated the divine spirit control technique, it would be different. Su Jingxing sighed. Unfortunately, not only was this ultimate art incomplete, there was only a portion of it available. If he wanted to cultivate it, he had to prepare a deduction card with at least 20 years duration. For now, he could only put it aside. With Thunderbolt ability, he could absorb lightning and release it. He had to find an opportunity to charge it. It was unrealistic to do so indoors. Everyone knew the might of a blood spirit weapon. God knows how big of a commotion it would cause if he were to charge it using a cable in the house. Moreover, there would be all kinds of accidents when there was a sudden blackout. He had to find an appropriate opportunity to charge Thunderbolt. Or perhaps he should just wait for thunder to strike to absorb its energy. Having made his decision, Su Jingxing put away Thunderbolt and took out the branch from the glowing willow tree. However, as soon as it left his palm space, a ball of light blossomed. No, it was more accurate to say that the branch was still glowing. Even after leaving the willow tree, it could still emit light. Look at this brightness, it's even better than a flashlight. Su Jingxing sized it up for a moment. He cut off the bark with his knife and sniffed it. There was no smell. Have a taste. Su Jingxing gave up. No one knew if this thing and the giant crocodile's flesh were poisonous. If he wanted to experiment, he had to find some living creatures, such as chickens and ducks. Tomorrow morning, I'll go to the market to buy live chickens. He checked the time. There was still half an hour before dawn. Su Jingxing took out a martial arts practice card, unlocked it and started practicing martial arts. The 4 martial arts practice cards from the corpse puppets each contained 13 years of practice time. Su Jingxing entered the martial arts practice space and immediately started practicing the air-splitting palm. This martial art was easy to pick up but difficult to master. He used up all 13 years of practice time only to reach the peak of perfection instead of godlike mastery. Su Jingxing did not continue practicing. The peak of perfection was enough for now. He unlocked the second martial arts practice card and spent 13 years on the 100 steps raining fist. Prior to this, Su Jingxing's mastery of the 100 steps raining fist was only at the advanced level. This time, through a 13-year martial arts practice card, he had successfully reached the peak of perfection. The same went for the ghost python breath-holding technique. He expended a 13-year martial arts practice card to reach the peak of perfection. Su Jingxing temporarily kept the remaining martial arts practice card. After these advancements, his strength had increased significantly. His speed of circulating true energy, and the explosive power of his true energy also increased by several folds. For example, if Su Jingxing were to fight against Shirzini now, he would be able to shatter his martial art true intent of the blood WIRM using 100 steps raining fist with just 60 years of his true energy cultivation. The ghost python breath holding technique was the same. As long as he used this technique, his heartbeat or breathing would be concealed. Of course, it was still slightly inferior compared to the functions of the invisibility card from the giant crocodile. But it was enough for Su Jingxing to hide himself. Tomorrow night, he would go to the Xiantian University Library. He was sure that no one would be able to detect him unless he was a powerful martial artist in the top ranks who had condensed martial art true intent. He adjusted his breathing and calmed his mind. When he looked out of the window again, the sky was already bright. Su Jingxing immediately got up and went to the market to buy 10 live chickens. First, he added water and boiled the bark of the glowing willow tree. He forcefully fed the water to the chickens and waited for a moment. Nothing. Then, he continued to boil the entire branch and fed the water to the chickens. He waited for a while. Still nothing. No poison. There was no problem with the glowing willow tree. Su Jingxing took out the crocodile flesh, boiled it in water, minced it, and prepared to feed it to the chickens. Unexpectedly, the 10 chickens that were placed on the ground in the courtyard automatically dashed over and surrounded the food basin. They competed and pecked at each other. That exaggerated? Su Jingxing narrowed his eyes. It was true that the crocodile meat was mutated beast meat, but the chickens were ordinary chickens. They were raised in mountain farms and sent to the market in batches. These chickens were not disrupted by anything else, nor did they possess special abilities. They ate feed, grain, and worms. Since when would they eat crocodile meat? Minced crocodile meat was still meat. No chicken would eat meat, unless it was a mutated beast. Now, these 10 chickens were happily fighting for and pecking up the crocodile meat. The reason was definitely not the chickens, but the crocodile meat. The cooked crocodile meat indeed had a unique fragrance. The 10 chickens caught this fragrance, ran over, and fought to eat it. It could only mean one thing. The attraction of the crocodile meat was beyond imagination. With this in mind, Su Jingxing did not stop the chickens. He allowed all 10 of them to fight and finish off half of the crocodile meat. Then, he removed the tray, put it aside and waited patiently. It wasn't that Su Jingxing was stingy. The appetite of a chicken was only so big. If they continued eating, they might die from overeating before being poisoned. The 10 chickens actually showed no restraint when eating the crocodile meat. They didn't care about anything else. Once they managed to seize a spot, they started eating furiously. Su Jingxing didn't want to see them die from overeating. While waiting, Su Jingxing observed carefully and found that although the 10 chickens were bloated, they were full of vigor and showed no signs of being poisoned. The 4 roosters even got into their positions and started fighting. Su Jingxing waited for half an hour. After making sure that there were no problems with the 10 chickens, he turned around and walked into the house. He stir-fried the remaining crocodile meat with seasonings and condiments and finished the big plate as breakfast. He had to admit that it was very delicious. There was the delicacy of wild mountains and rivers, as well as the special texture of mutated beast meat. It also gave him a refreshing and comfortable feeling from head to toe. After he finished eating, he didn't feel bloated because the crocodile meat was quickly digested after entering his stomach. It turned into a cool energy that flowed through his body. It spread through his limbs, organs, and even his brain. Everywhere it passed, it felt like drinking iced spring water in summer. It was not the kind of bone-chilling coldness that would make one tremble. Instead, it was the kind of gentle coolness that felt like stroking the finest silk. This feeling became more prominent as time passed. On the way to the crematorium, Su Jingxing's mind was exceptionally clear. As for tempering of the body, there was not much. Su Jingxing tried to circulate the 9 steps trampling heaven and refine it, but he didn't get much of a reaction. He just left it be and allowed himself to enjoy the comfortable touch. During the process of moving corpses, his entire body felt cool and refreshing. It was not until 3 hours later that the feeling disappeared. Su Jingxing had decided to bring the rest of the crocodile flesh out. It would be a waste to leave such mutated beast flesh to rot in the underground pond. When he found out that his extraction range had increased, Su Jingxing couldn't wait to bring them all back. That's right, this giant crocodile's flesh could actually enhance soul power. At first, Su Jingxing had thought that it was an illusion. After a few tests, he agitatedly confirmed that his extraction range had really increased. Before this, Su Jingxing's extraction range was 10 meters. With him as the center, he could extract cards from corpses within a 10-meter radius. Yesterday, it was still 10 meters too. Today, however, it had grown by 2 meters to 12 meters. These 2 meters were automatically added after a night's sleep. Or is it due to the increase in my true energy cultivation? No. It is impossible that it's due to sleeping, and this isn't the first time my true energy cultivation has risen. If they could boost my soul power, it would have been done long ago. There is no way it will happen only now. The only explanation is that I ate eaten crocodile meat in the morning. It was easy to verify this point. After work, Su Jingxing rushed to the Tai Ming Mountain Reservoir. Activating advanced hearing, he listened carefully to his surroundings. After confirming that there was no one around, he pretended to go swimming and entered the reservoir. He released his true energy externally and dived into the cave. When he reached the underground pond, he retrieved all crocodile flesh that he had dropped the night before and placed them in his palm space. This time, he discovered a species of silver fish at the bottom of the pond while going for the crocodile flesh. One was the size of 2 fingers. Yet they moved very quickly and had a beautiful physique. Su Jingxing tried to catch a few, but he failed. When he released his true energy in the water, not only was the resistance strong, the commotion was also huge. The silver fish were very vigilant. Before Su Jingxing even got close, they would sense him and disappear from sight. The corner hole at the bottom of the pond connected to other waterways. Su Jingxing didn't have much time to play with silver fish, so he gave up quickly. With the discovery of the silver fish, he finally figured out what the giant crocodile had been eating for the past 200 years. Only the giant crocodile's ability to hide its aura would allow it to catch. No, it should be said that only a giant crocodile could make the silver fish swim into its mouth by themselves. Since Su Jingxing ate the crocodile meat, that would be considered indirectly consuming the silver fish. Back at his small courtyard at the foot of the mountain, Su Jingxing took out the crocodile meat he had brought back, cooked it again, and finished a large pot. After that, he enjoyed the cool and comfortable sensation for 3 hours. Then, he quickly rushed to the crematorium through the air, hid in a corner, controlled the distance, and extracted cards. After a few attempts, he successfully confirmed that his extraction range had increased by another 2 meters. What a surprise! This was a wonderful and pleasant surprise. Su Jingxing had only brought back a few pieces of flesh for a taste after killing the giant crocodile because he knew that mutated beast flesh was rare. Unexpectedly, he got a taste of great benefits. It was still unclear what use the glowing willow tree had. However, the giant crocodile flesh delighted Su Jingxing. Increase soul power. This was an ability that only rare treasures and pills possessed. For example, the spirit accumulation pill. On top of being able to turn invisible and conceal all auras, the flesh of this giant crocodile that Su Jingxing had killed also had this ability. It was so surprising. It was difficult to calculate the exact amount of soul power, but one large tray of crocodile meat to increase extraction range by 2 meters was still a good reference. The gigantic crocodile was almost 40 meters long. After removing its skin and internal organs, the remaining crocodile flesh was enough to make dozens of trays. Since it could increase his soul power, Su Jingxing was in no hurry to go to the Xiantian University Library anymore. For the next few days, besides going to work, he stayed at home, cooked a tray of crocodile meat every 3 hours and finished it. He also prepared the meat in a variety of ways: roasted, boiled, stir-fried, sliced. After he finished all the crocodile meat, his mind was inexplicably agitated. He swiftly rushed to the crematorium to check his extraction range. He got a statistic. 101 meters. The amount of soul power he had accumulated pushed his extraction range to exceed 100 meters. With this range, Su Jingxing didn't need to enter the crematorium to extract the cards. Then, something even more surprising happened. That was with his extraction. There was now no need to provide a notification and wait for Su Jingxing's response to carry on with the extraction. When his soul power pushed his extraction range past 100 meters, his cheat ability did the extractions automatically. It wasn't even extracting them up one by one, but accumulating a certain amount before extracting altogether. For example, cards plus 30. Cards plus 50. Ha! Su Jingxing grinned, delighted by this change. An extraction range of more than 100 meters. Is it time to change my identity? Su Jingxing was willing to be a corpse collector because it was easier to extract cards as one. But now, his extraction range had exceeded 100 meters and the extraction time could be accumulated. Being a corpse collector was not only a waste of energy, but also a waste of time. Although Su Jingxing was already an official employee of the crematorium, he couldn't apply for leave at every turn. Corpse collection was different from other jobs. Once there was a corpse, they had to arrive on scene immediately. Although he had a lot of free time, his freedom was greatly limited. He had no choice in the past, but things were different now. At this thought, Su Jingxing made a decision. He would find a chance to change his identity. He had already thought about what job to switch to. Tai Long Building. The building of Tai Long Corporation's Qinghe City branch was beside Tai Long Mall. Presently, on the top floor of the building, in a spacious office, all the senior executives of the Tai Long Corporation's Qinghe City branch stood upright and silent. In the office, there was only a refined and handsome middle-aged man sitting behind the boss's desk. He was flipping through a document with soft rustles. Behind the middle-aged man was a muscular man with brands of a sun and a moon imprinted on either of his cheeks. His sharp gaze swept across the entire office. Under his gaze, all the senior executives of the branch felt chills go down their spines and their scalps turned numb. The originally quiet office became even quieter. Even their heartbeats could be heard. Slap! A muffled thud broke the silence. All the senior executives felt their hearts racing as cold sweat broke out on their foreheads. Their faces were pale and their bodies were trembling. However, no one dared to utter a word. They simply stood in their spots and lowered their heads in silence. Is this all you've gotten done after manager Ma Xingyang died? Behind the desk, the elegant middle-aged man threw down the folder and looked up at the senior executives. He said calmly, wasn't Nie Rencho's identity investigated till the end? There are so many things in the corporation that you weren't handled either. I'm very curious, what have you people been busy with recently? Silence. The office was dead silent. No one dared to speak. Why? Are you mute? The elegant middle-aged man pushed his chair back and crossed one leg over the other. He began coolly again, what have you people been busy with? Can't you tell me even that? Has this building changed its name? It's no longer Tai Long. And no. The expression of a fat middle-aged man with a large head, big ears and a big belly said nervously, this is Tai Long, of course. Then who are you? The elegant middle-aged man interrupted. We are from the employees of Tai Long. The fat middle-aged man wiped the sweat off his face and stuttered, CEO Tian, we have been investigating Nyerensho's identity all this time, but there has been no news. His corpse was left at the entrance of the crematorium and has long been turned to ashes. Without a corpse, have no clue as to where he came from or what his identity is. As for what we are busy with, CEO Tian, you might not know since you just arrived. The Shi family from the western district of Qinghe City has been wiped out. Every faction is fighting over the assets they left behind. Although most of them have been divided up by the Li, Zhou, Qi and Wang families, and the Iron Thread sect, the rest are still worth a lot of money. So, you've been busy seizing territory, the elegant middle-aged man interrupted again. The fat middle-aged man opened his mouth and replied nervously, why yes. Well, in that case, I should commend you for earning more territory for the corporation. The elegant middle-aged man chuckled and said, I just wonder how much you've seized. Not much. The fat middle-aged man smiled awkwardly. Just half a street of shops. That's not bad. The elegant middle-aged man nodded and praised them. You guys did a good job. You've done a great job expanding the corporation's territory. All of you have rendered great service. Not at all. This is what we should do. The fat middle-aged man squeezed out a smile as he bowed and smiled apologetically. If I say you have credit, then you have credit. And credit should naturally be rewarded. The elegant middle-aged man raised his hand and smiled. This reward will be delivered tomorrow or the day after. You will get it by then. Ah. The fat middle-aged man was greatly shocked when he heard this, and his mouth gaped open. The others also revealed looks of surprise. However, the group of people were no longer as frightened as before. Their faces regained color, although they did not know what the reward was. Don't worry, you'll know when the time comes. The elegant middle-aged man kept them in suspense. There's nothing else now. You can leave and carry on with your own work. All right. CEO Tian, we'll leave now. When the fat middle-aged man heard that, he hurriedly lowered his head and bent down, retreating to the door. The others followed behind and left the office as quietly as possible. Everyone came out and closed the door. A bunch of pig brains. The elegant middle-aged man looked at the empty office and said coolly, not doing what they should do and doing a bunch of things they shouldn't have done. Ma Xingyang is a good-for-nothing, no wonder he was killed on the streets. At this moment, the elegant middle-aged man was no longer as calm and smiling as before. His face was filled with anger. Go and investigate. With a somber face, he said coldly, *CK this bunch of trash. I don't know when we'll be able to find the map. You go and handle this matter. I give you full authority. Yes. Behind him, the muscular man with the brands on his face replied calmly. I'll give you a direction to follow. Xiantian University. The elegant middle-aged man exhaled and said in a deep voice, it'll be easier to find the map if we go to Xiantian University. Yes. By the way, don't make a big fuss when you go there. There are quite a few old fellows in Xiantian University who are quite powerful. The elegant middle-aged man said calmly, with them around, if you make a big fuss, you might just stay there forever. Understood. The sky was high and the clouds were thick. The sun shone brightly in all directions. On the main road in the center of Changyang Prefecture, 3 cars were driving at a constant speed against the breeze. In the car in the middle was a young man with light golden hair. He leaned against the car window and looked at the scenery outside with a blank expression. 7th young master, don't worry. We've already confirmed it. Seated across from the young man was an old man with meticulously groomed hair and beard. He said in a deep voice, after the final deduction of the data model, the location has been determined to be in Qinghe City. It's in Qinghe City, everyone who knows has long learned about it. The young man said calmly, also, Elder Hu, how many times have I told you not to call me young master? What else can we call you if we don't call you young master? A young girl with a ponytail asked playfully. You are a young master after all. We can't possibly call you seventh brother, right? Sure. The young man turned around and looked at the girl. He smiled and said, I'm more comfortable with seventh brother than seventh young master. TCH, that's for you, but not us. The girl stuck out her tongue. Seventh brother is a no. How about seventh master? Fine, spare me. The young man raised his hands in surrender. Seventh uncle is still around. If I call myself seventh master, people will think that I want to replace him. You have replaced him, seventh young master. Behind the girl, a strong man with a strong aura spoke in a throaty voice. We haven't lost yet. Let's see who dares to look down on seventh young master after we get the item in our hands. Alright, you can say that here, but mind your mouths when we're outside. The old man warned in a low voice, seventh young master's affairs are top secret. If any of you leak them, I'll kill you myself. Yes. When the young girl and the others heard this, their expressions turned serious and they answered in unison. Uncle Hu, you're doing this again. The young man shook his head helplessly. We are all on the same side. There's no need to emphasize this every time. I believe everyone knows what to do. It's alright, seventh young master. This is a necessary reminder in case we forget. The girl stuck out her tongue and grinned. I believe we'll definitely succeed this time. I hope to count on that. The youth laughed. It's too early to speak about success now. Everyone knows it's in Qinghe City, but no one knows exactly where it is. Xiantian University. The old man continued, according to our final analysis, the map with the information should be in Xiantian University. Really? The young man's eyes lit up. It's true. The girl rushed to answer. The map is at Xiantian University. We just have to go to Xiantian University to look for it. Of course, the Qinghe City's Xiantian University branch campus is very big. It'll be a little troublesome to find the map. This is not a problem. The young man waved his hand. Locking on to Xiantian University will save us a lot of trouble. All that's left is finding the map, things will be much simpler. That's true. Compared to the entire Qinghe City, Xiantian University is indeed very small. The young girl gripped her fists in encouragement. So, we're going straight to Xiantian University? A brawny man with a large head touched his head and asked foolishly. Of course. Xiantian University. In the principal's office. Principal Lu, welcome, welcome, I was wondering why the magpies were chirping non-stop, today turns out it's because of Principal Lu's arrival. Ma Shifeng, the skinny principal of the Xiantian University's Qinghe City branch campus, held the hands of a white-haired old man in both hands and shook vigorously. His face was full of smiles. I have come to disturb Principal Ma. The old man's face was flushed as he sat on the sofa under Ma Shifeng's lead. How can it be considered a disturbance? I've long wanted to invite Principal Lu to come over to our side to give lessons to the students, but I just couldn't. This time, Principal Lu, all our teachers and students can't wait to welcome you, Ma Shifeng said with a smile. Sigh, I'm ashamed. When the elder heard that, he sighed and smiled bitterly. I'm not afraid of Principal Ma laughing at me. These few years, I've been completely obsessed. I don't bother with the affairs of the outside world at all, and I've missed and lost a lot. It wasn't until some time ago when I was brought to my senses that I suddenly came to an enlightenment. At the mention of this matter, I'm really ashamed. This is human nature, Principal Lu, you don't have to blame yourself, I think that it's a good thing to be able to realize your wrongs. As for the past, let it pass, Ma Shifeng comforted. That's right. I can only let bygones be bygones. The old man sighed. Although the past has passed, I don't have the face to stay in the school anymore. While I can still move around, I want to go to the various schools and walk through them again, leaving behind my final footprints. Look, when I came to Changyang, I came to visit and obtrude on you, Principal Ma. Not at all, Principal Lu. It's the Qinghe branch campus honor to have you here. Ma Shifeng said seriously, Principal Lu, don't worry. In the next few days, we will certainly have you satisfied. We'll have someone bring you around every corner of the school. We will definitely not let you leave with regrets. All right, all right. The old man nodded repeatedly and said bitterly, I really didn't expect to have to trouble people when I'm already at this age. Look, you're getting at it again. The headquarters of the CIN Bank's Qinghe City branch. Pa. 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 A warm round of applause sounded in the lobby of the first floor of the CIN building. Hundreds of uniformed bank employees stood around them and clapped excitedly as they watched a group of people walk in from the main entrance. Look, everyone from the head office is so good looking. You hussy, who do you have your eyes on now? Hee hee, there's no need to guess. It must be CEO Lu. Speaking of which, CEO Lu is already in the 6th grade at such a young age. How impressive. That's right. No one in Qinghe City has reached the 6th grade at the age of 20, right? Amidst the applause, the employees in the corner gathered and discussed in low voices. The handsome man leading the group of people smiled and nodded to the two sides from time to time. Finally, under the lead of the Qinghe branch leaders, they arrived at the top floor of the building. CEO Lu, this is Yunlong tea. Have a taste. A smiling middle-aged man respectfully served the handsome man tea. President Wang, you don't have to go through so much trouble. The handsome man took the teacup and said with a smile, I just came to Qinghe City's Shantian branch campus to participate in the exchange competition. I won't be staying here for long. I came here today only on my father's request. I also wanted to take a look at the situation here. I have no other intentions. No, no, CEO Lu, your visit brings light to our humble branch. All of us have eagerly anticipated your arrival, the middle-aged man said seriously. We're so excited. CEO Lu, please don't say that. All right. The handsome man resisted the urge to roll his eyes and did not say anything else. He took a sip of tea, put down the cup, and said indifferently, this is my first time coming to Qinghe City. I wonder which places in Qinghe City are more fun. For example, are there any outstanding attractions in Shantian University? The handsome man paused and added. The middle-aged man faltered. There seems to be quite a lot, right? Is that so? The handsome man raised his eyebrows. That's great. With so many places, this exchange competition shouldn't be too boring. Of course, of course. The middle-aged man smiled. Inwardly, he found it strange. Fun places in Shantian University. There isn't anything outstanding in Shantian University, is there? He wondered what this young CEO Lu from the head office was thinking. He had come all the way to Qinghe City's Shantian branch campus to participate in some exchange competition. How idle, seriously. Night. Shantian University. At 3 o'clock in the morning, the university campus shrouded in darkness was completely silent. Occasionally, the sound of insects could be heard from some corners. After a while, it would disappear. Under the moonlight, a ghostly figure streaked across the sky and emerged from the clouds, landing on the rooftop of a building in the northeastern corner of the campus. The top structure of this tall building was rather special. It was like a bowl was placed upside down at the top. As a result, moving from the rooftop to the windows required a huge turn. If it were anyone else, they would have taken quite a bit of effort to enter the window from the rooftop. Not Su Jingxing. He, who had disguised himself as Yang Jian, took a few steps at the edge of the rooftop and calculated the location of his target window. With a flash, he flew down along the wall like a gecko and easily bypassed the poles that seemed to promise electric shocks to arrive outside a window. Stepping on the wall, he maintained his true energy and tapped lightly on the four corners of the glass window. Crack! The thick glass began to crack from four corners until the whole piece peeled off. Swoosh! Su Jingxing put the broken window glass into his palm space and walked through the window into the room like a ghost. Throughout the entire process, not a single sound was made. The ghost python breath-holding technique had been executed way back when he was on the rooftop and had been maintained until now. At the peak of perfection, the ghost python breath-holding technique hid his aura, heartbeat, and breathing so much that they were almost inaudible. If a person was not within a meter of Su Jingxing, they would not be able to detect or hear him. Moreover, there was no wind tonight, so the plan went surprisingly smoothly. Su Jingxing easily entered the top floor of Xiantian University Library, which was the library where important documents, ancient books, and other information were stored. On the rows of bookshelves, important books passed down from ancient times were neatly arranged. Su Jingxing walked slowly along the aisle, looking for a suitable classification from the labels on the sides of the bookshelves. What category does a ring and a glowing tree belong to? Miscellanies? Metals? Plants? Su Jingxing searched as he walked. Occasionally, he would stop by a bookshelf and pick up a book to flip through quickly. As the room for precious documents, there were naturally cameras installed in the corners of the ceiling to monitor the situation in the library 24 hours a day. The reason why Su Jingxing could move around so easily and casually pick up books to read was because he had hacked into the surveillance system of Xiantian University Library through his computer before coming here. He copied an empty video in advance. Then, he calculated the time and covered the surveillance footage 10 seconds before he entered. It was late at night, 3 a.m. in the morning. There was no one in the library. The contents of the video was almost the same as the real-time surveillance footage. Therefore, Su Jingxing wasn't worried about being discovered. Even if he was out, it didn't matter. He was wearing a cloak and a visor. It wasn't as if he had any intention of stealing a book. He was just checking for information. He didn't believe that the guards of the library would take him on at the risk of destroying the library. As such, Su Jingxing was not in a hurry to leave. He walked rows of bookshelves to look for suitable books. Simple explanations of array formations, true energy for beginners, basics of alchemy, analysis of mutated beasts. Many of the ancient books that only had fragments of their contents on the internet were here. Su Jingxing flipped through them quickly and put them back. Even with his photographic memory, he could not read so many books. Anyway, the books were always here. He could come and read them when he needed to. What Su Jingxing was most eager to find were rare records about glowing trees and the like. After walking around for a long time, he finally reached a bookshelf and saw a copy of Record of Wondrous Things. He picked it up and flipped through a few pages before his eyes lit up. Found it. The Record of Wondrous Things was an ancient book about various rare items and happenings. Although the entire book was not very old, the paper was specially made. It could be stored for hundreds of years, capable of withstanding exposure to water, oil, and wind. Thus, even though it was a duplicate version, the content, words, and patterns recorded on it were very clear. There was also a unique aura about it that made one feel inexplicably fascinated. Su Jingxing's soul power was strong, so he was not afraid of this. He quickly flipped through the pages and found the content he wanted. 5 Elements Ring. The strange ring he had obtained from the treasury vault in the Shi family's secret base was actually an item of natural formation. It resembled a ring, but the original shape of this item was similar to begin with. People noticed that they looked very similar to rings, so they slightly altered them. The ability of such rings, as the name suggested, was to possess the power of the 5 elements. It could be controlled, released, or absorbed. And the prerequisite to controlling them was to have great soul power. If one's soul power wasn't strong, he wouldn't be able to utilize it. On this point, all 5 elements rings were the same. There were even records of how to control them using soul power. Su Jingxing was delighted and quickly memorized this information. Then, he continued flipping through the pages and found the glowing tree. Concentration fruit tree. The actual name of the glowing willow tree in the underground cave was concentration fruit tree. From its name, one could tell how special this tree was. Concentration. The fruits produced by this fruit tree possessed the ability to pull together attention, which was also the effect of increasing one's soul power. Su Jingxing couldn't help but think of the giant crocodile when he saw the text. Eating the crocodile meat boosted his soul power. Previously, Su Jingxing thought that it was because of the giant crocodile itself. Only now did he understand that the giant crocodile's meat had such an effect, probably due to the concentration fruit tree. The pages recorded that the concentration fruit tree flowered every 30 years, bore fruit every 30 years, and the fruits would ripen in 30 years. In other words, it would take nearly 100 years to get the fruits. Although the giant crocodile was guarding the entrance of the cave, the tunnel connecting it to the empty cavity was very spacious. At least for now, the giant crocodile could still crawl through the tunnel and enter the cavity. Therefore, it would have eaten at least one concentration fruit having stayed in the underground cave for 200 years. The reason why it was once was because it took time for the concentration fruit tree to grow. It was stated that it would take 81 years to grow from a sapling into a tree. When the fruits have ripened, they will automatically fall off. And it would take another cycle of nearly 100 years for them to grow again. In other words, if Su Jingxing wanted to eat the concentration fruit, he would have to wait 70 to 80 years. Previously, Su Jingxing had looked around the concentration fruit tree, but he did not see a single flower. If there was no other way, he would have to wait that long. However, at the end of the introductory pages of the concentration fruit tree, there was a passage. Set up high-level energy gathering array formations around the concentration fruit tree. They can help the concentrating fruit tree to flower and bear fruit in advance. If there are no high-level energy gathering array formations, one can also set up many basic energy gathering array formations. The lowest requirement is the energy gathering stone. Bury energy gathering stones under the concentration fruit tree following the trials of a basic array formation, and the effect of flowering and bearing fruit in advance will still be present. The more energy gathering stones there were, the shorter the time it would take for the tree to bear fruit. Of course, correspondingly, the effects of these fruits would be significantly poorer than the fruits that matured following a normal timeline. For example, eating a concentration fruit that matured normally could increase one's soul power by 1. In comparison, fruits that matured in advance would only do so by 0.4, or even 0.3 or 0.2. Not only was Su Jingxing not discouraged, instead, he was pleasantly surprised. Since it was able to reduce the waiting duration of decades to a few months, what were slightly weaker effects? This difference could be easily made up with multiple accelerations of maturation. Although Su Jingxing didn't know how many times such accelerated maturations could be carried out in advance, and it wasn't written in the book, even if it could only be done 3 times, he would have made a killing. When the boost in his soul power increased his extraction range past 100 meters, Su Jingxing tried the visualization of the demonic heaven trampling elephant diagram. This time, he successfully persevered, and visualized a vague heaven trampling elephant. If he had enough concentration fruits, he could eat them and continuously increase his soul power. Fully visualizing and condensing the heaven trampling elephant would not be a problem at all. Once the heaven trampling elephant was solidified, it could continue to grow stronger. It could run, roar, stomp, and charge in his consciousness. When his visualized heaven trampling elephant had reached that extent, Su Jingxing would even dare to clash with a martial artist in the top ranks. What was the most terrifying thing about a martial artist in the top ranks? It was not true essence, but martial art true intent. To put it bluntly, true essence was true energy, a qualitative change brought about by quantity. If Su Jingxing could extract true energy cards, he could accumulate up to thousands or even tens of thousands of years of true energy cultivation. In this aspect, he did not fear the true essence of a martial artist in the top ranks at all. As long as he had sufficient true energy, he would be able to overwhelm the true essence all the same. What Su Jingxing was wary about top-ranked martial artists was martial art true intent. Shi Zini, the pseudo-third grade, almost had him on his knees and unable to control himself. What was the reason? It was the power of martial art true intent. Martial art true intent could interfere with reality through the mind. Once this formless power was released, the most direct impact would be on the consciousness and soul. One would be pressured to the point of losing self-control. The area of effect was very large too, ranging from tens of meters to hundreds of meters long and thousands of meters. For example, the ethereal sword immortal's martial art true intent could cover an area with a radius of over 80 meters. In the face of such power, no matter how much true energy one had, he was unable to release it. The consciousness was already suppressed, so how could the release be done? Therefore, the best way to deal with a top-ranked martial artist was to run. The faster you run, the better. The farther you go, the better. Otherwise, one would have to endure the terrifying suppression on the soul. Of course, if one had a spirit weapon on hand, or if he struck first with a sneak attack, or assassination, that would be another matter. In the tens of thousands of years of human history on Earth Star, there were quite a few top-ranked experts who had been assassinated. If there was no need, Su Jingxing naturally did not want to go against these martial artists either. However, if he had the ability to go head-to-head against them, he would be more than happy to do so. Visualizing the demonic heaven trampling elephant diagram was one way. After eating the concentration fruit, he would increase his soul power and visualize a tangible heaven trampling elephant. A clear route. With this in mind, Su Jingxing put down the record of wondrous things, turned around, and walked to a bookshelves he had passed by before. He found the simple explanations of array formations. There were dozens of basic array formations recorded inside. Su Jingxing chose 3 types and memorized them all in his mind. Afraid that he would forget, he took out his phone and silently snapped a few photos. The main thing was that the basic array formations all came with an illustration and detailed explanations. I'll take photos, just in case. After he was done, Su Jingxing put the book back on the shelf and did not stay any longer. He quickly left the library through the same window he had come in from. Leaning close to the wall, Su Jingxing took out the piece of glass that he had removed from his palm space and put it back together with glass cement. Finally, he executed his lightness skill and soared into the sky, disappearing into the horizon. He did not return to his small courtyard at the foot of the mountain. Su Jingxing went straight to the Tai Ming Mountain Reservoir and went through the underground cavern to reach the cave. In the spacious and quiet empty space, the white light from the concentration fruit tree was still dazzling. Su Jingxing circled it and moved some stones away, creating an empty spot for the array formation. Then, he took out all the energy-gathering stones, unlocked his phone, and started to set up the basic array formation according to the illustrations on it. What happened? Suddenly, Su Jingxing's eyes widened. He was a little stunned. The photos of the basic array formations in his phone were all blurry. It was not just one photo, but all the photos. They were all blurry and the lines could not be seen clearly. What's going on? Su Jingxing narrowed his eyes and pondered over the reason. There is nothing wrong with the phone, but the photos are blurry. Is there something wrong with the pages of simple explanations of array formations? Su Jingxing's eyes lit up. This simple explanations of array formations was also a copied version. The original version was probably in the headquarters of Xiantian University. Almost all the books in the Qinghe City branch campus were basically replicas. Su Jingxing could understand if the original versions had this function. After all, the contents of some ancient books, including the pages, had been specially processed and preserved. It was impossible to replicate them. What Su Jingxing didn't expect was that even a replica had this function. Aren't they forcing people to steal books? Su Jingxing was puzzled. If they couldn't even take photos of the replicated version, wouldn't that be forcing others to simply take the books away? Or is Xiantian University so confident that no one will steal them? Su Jingxing shook his head. Su Jingxing couldn't help himself, not to mention others. He had never intended to bring the books out, but from the looks of it, he had no choice but to do so. Even though Su Jingxing had also memorized a few basic array formations, in order not to make any mistakes, he still decided to go back to the library immediately to bring out the whole simple explanations of array formations. At the very most, he would return the book after his array formations were set up. Just do it. Su Jingxing immediately turned around and left the underground cave. He returned through the same way, left the reservoir, and headed straight for Xiantian University. Along the way, he upped his speed to the fastest, moving almost at the speed of lightning. In less than 10 minutes, he returned to the top floor of Xiantian University Library. Just as he was about to use the same method to enter the library, the sound of rushing wind suddenly came from behind him. Su Jingxing caught it and immediately flashed to hide in a corner. His aura, heartbeat, and breathing were concealed, almost disappearing. Swoosh! Swoosh! The moment Su Jingxing finished his concealment, 5 figures moved through the night sky and quickly landed on the rooftop. Everyone, move quickly. One of the men lowered his voice and ordered. Understood. The other 4 quickly took out their tools. There were ropes, daggers, and ropes. Soon, in less than 5 minutes, a zip line was made, and at the edge of the rooftop, near one of the windows, a mount was clamped. Then the man who spoke first secured the rope to his waist, and with a leap, descended. In less than 2 seconds after he did,